In early 2026, a surprising story began to spread quietly through royal circles in the United Kingdom. It was not announced publicly, and there was no official statement, yet people inside the system were talking about it with a mix of shock and curiosity. The story centered around Princess Charlotte, a young girl who had just turned 9 years old. Instead of the expected names like Prince William or King Charles III, it was Charlotte who had reportedly been chosen as the future custodian of a deeply private royal estate. This decision was said to have been made by Queen Elizabeth II before her passing. What made the situation even more surprising was that this estate was not listed in public records and had never been discussed openly. It was described as a place of great emotional and historical value rather than just financial worth. The news did not only raise questions outside the royal family, but also created tension within it. In particular, Queen Camilla and her son Tom Parker Bowles were said to be unhappy with the decision. Many wondered why a young child had been given such an important responsibility and what it meant for the future of the royal family. This was not just a simple matter of inheritance. It seemed to reflect a deeper plan and a long-term vision that had been carefully thought out by Queen Elizabeth II over many years. The estate at the center of this story was described as something very unusual. It was not a famous palace or a well-known royal residence. Instead, it was said to be hidden away in a quiet countryside area, possibly between Oxfordshire and Buckinghamshire. According to reports, the property had been originally acquired during the time of King George VI in the 1940s, during the final years of the Second World War. At that time, the goal was not luxury or public display. Instead, the estate was meant to serve as a private and secure place where important documents and memories could be preserved. Over the decades, it became a kind of silent archive, holding materials that were too sensitive or personal to be shared with the public. When Queen Elizabeth II inherited it, she chose to keep it out of the spotlight. She visited it quietly and ensured that its purpose remained unchanged. The estate was not about wealth or power in the usual sense. It represented history, responsibility, and trust. This is what made its transfer so meaningful. Whoever controlled the estate would also carry the responsibility of protecting a hidden part of royal history. It was not just land or buildings. It was a symbol of continuity and care, something that connected past generations with the future. In the years before her passing, Queen Elizabeth II was known for thinking carefully about the future of the monarchy. She had seen many changes during her long reign, including moments of crisis, public criticism, and internal family challenges. Because of this, she understood that the strength of the monarchy depended not only on tradition but also on the character of those who would lead it in the future. During this time, Prince William reportedly made several quiet visits to the private estate. These visits were not publicized, and there were no media reports about them at the time. Instead, they were described as personal efforts to understand the importance of the estate and to help preserve its contents. He was said to have reviewed historical documents, organized archives, and even taken steps to protect delicate materials from damage. These actions showed a deep sense of duty and respect for the past. Queen Elizabeth II is believed to have noticed this dedication. However, her decision did not stop with William. She also looked ahead to the next generation. She observed her grandchildren closely, paying attention to their behavior, their attitudes, and their ability to handle responsibility. It was during this time that Princess Charlotte began to stand out in a quiet but meaningful way. Those who followed royal events often noticed that Princess Charlotte appeared calm and composed during public appearances. Even at a young age, she seemed to understand the importance of her role. She listened carefully, behaved respectfully, and showed a level of maturity that impressed many observers. While it is natural for children to be playful and distracted, Charlotte often appeared focused and aware of her surroundings. This may have caught the attention of Queen Elizabeth II, who valued qualities such as stability, patience, and a strong sense of duty. According to reports, these traits played a key role in the Queen's decision. She believed that the estate required someone who would protect it rather than use it for personal gain. This was not about popularity or public image. It was about trust. By choosing Charlotte, the Queen may have been sending a message about the kind of leadership she wanted to see in the future. It was a decision that looked far ahead, beyond the current generation, toward a time when Charlotte would be old enough to take on the responsibility herself. This made the decision both unusual and deeply meaningful. Another important part of this story is the legal structure that was reportedly created to protect the estate. Queen Elizabeth II was known for being careful and thoughtful when it came to important decisions. Instead of relying on a simple will, she is said to have used a more complex legal arrangement. This structure included conditions that had to be met before the transfer of the estate would become active. It also placed strict limits on how the property could be used. For example, it reportedly prevented the estate from being sold, changed, or used for commercial purposes without proper approval. During Prince William's lifetime, he would have a role in overseeing these decisions. After that, the responsibility would pass to Princess Charlotte once she reached adulthood. This type of planning shows a high level of foresight. It suggests that the Queen wanted to protect the estate from any misuse or outside pressure. It also explains why others who may have been interested in the estate, including Queen Camilla and Tom Parker Bowles, were unable to claim it. The legal structure made it very difficult to challenge the decision, ensuring that the Queen's wishes would be followed exactly as she intended. In the end, this story is about more than just a hidden estate or a surprising inheritance. It reflects the careful thinking and long-term planning of Queen Elizabeth II, a leader who spent her life balancing tradition with change. By choosing Princess Charlotte, she may have been looking beyond the present and focusing on the future of the monarchy. The decision also highlights the importance of character, responsibility, and trust within the royal family. While the full details of the estate may never be made public, the story itself has captured the imagination of many people. It raises questions about how decisions are made behind closed doors and what values guide those choices. Whether every detail of the story is accurate or not, it serves as a powerful example of how legacy and responsibility can shape the future. For viewers and readers, it offers a glimpse into a world that is usually hidden from public view, reminding us that even in modern times, there are still stories of tradition, secrecy, and careful planning that continue to shape history. As news of this private decision slowly spread among those connected to the royal household, the reaction was far from calm. While nothing was officially confirmed in public, insiders described a growing sense of tension behind closed doors. In particular, attention turned toward Queen Camilla and her close family circle. For some time, it had been believed that certain members within her side of the family were quietly hoping to gain influence over lesser-known royal assets, especially those not directly tied to the main line of succession. Among them, Tom Parker Bowles was often mentioned in speculation due to his business background and understanding of branding and media. While there is no confirmed evidence of any formal claim, reports suggested that there had been interest in how such private estates could be used in modern ways, possibly for exclusive events, publications, or carefully managed public access. However, the legal protections built around the estate made such ideas nearly impossible to act upon. The conditions placed by Queen Elizabeth II were not only strict but also very specific, leaving little room for interpretation. This created frustration among those who may have expected a different outcome. At the same time, it showed just how determined the Queen had been to protect certain parts of royal history from being turned into commercial opportunities. For many observers, this moment highlighted a deeper divide within the royal environment. One side focused on tradition, preservation, and long-term responsibility, and another more open to adapting royal assets to modern expectations. This contrast is not new, but in this situation, it became especially clear. The decision to name Princess Charlotte as custodian was not only about trust in her character, but also about drawing a firm line about what should and should not be changed in the years to come. To fully understand why Princess Charlotte's appointment caused such tension, it helps to consider the broader context of royal inheritance and tradition. Within the monarchy, most people expect that estates and significant properties are passed down to the heir, typically the eldest son, or the next in line, in this case Prince William. This expectation is rooted in centuries of tradition, in which the oldest child inherits responsibility for the main family holdings. However, Queen Elizabeth II's decision appeared to bypass that conventional expectation. Instead of automatically favoring William or other senior family members, she chose to assign the custodian role to a child from the next generation. According to those familiar with royal protocols, this is unusual, but not unprecedented. Monarchs have historically made such choices when they believed that a particular individual displayed qualities uniquely suited to a sensitive responsibility. In Charlotte's case, her calm composure, attention to detail, and apparent understanding of her role within the monarchy may have convinced the queen that she could be trusted with the stewardship of something so private and historically significant. Moreover, by assigning this role to a younger generation, the queen ensured that the estate would remain under careful, long-term oversight rather than becoming entangled in disputes among adult family members or being influenced by short-term ambitions. Observers suggest that this approach demonstrates the queen's forward-thinking mindset, showing that her concern was not just for the present but for the stability of the monarchy decades into the future. The decision also serves as a quiet lesson in leadership, highlighting that responsibility is not only about seniority but about character, foresight, and a sense of duty. The estate itself has a long and fascinating history, which makes its transfer to Princess Charlotte even more significant. Reports indicate that it was originally purchased quietly during the 1940s by King George VI, at a time when the world was at war and the royal family faced enormous uncertainty. Unlike more famous royal residences, this estate was not meant for public display, ceremonies, or grandeur. Instead, it was designed as a private sanctuary, a place where the monarchy could preserve sensitive documents, personal correspondence, and historical artifacts without exposure to public scrutiny. Over the decades, it served as a kind of silent archive, holding materials related to wartime efforts, family history, and royal administration. Because it was kept off public registries and away from official records, its existence was largely unknown to the outside world. For Queen Elizabeth II, the estate represented a way to protect both history and privacy. It allowed her to maintain control over certain aspects of the royal legacy without risking interference or misuse. Sources suggest that she personally oversaw the expansion of archival facilities and the organization of the estate's contents. She was said to have walked its grounds alone, carefully observing its structures and environment, ensuring that the place retained the integrity it had been intended to have. By the time the decision was made to name Charlotte as custodian, the estate had not only accumulated decades of historical significance, but had also become a symbol of the monarchy's continuity and the careful planning that underpinned it. The legal mechanisms used to protect the estate were equally intricate and deliberate. Queen Elizabeth II reportedly did not rely on a standard will or simple transfer process. Instead, she established a formal covenant, a legal agreement that set clear conditions for the estate's management and restricted its use. The covenant was designed to take effect only when certain criteria were met, ensuring that the property could not be claimed prematurely or misused. It also included specific instructions regarding the prevention of commercial exploitation, maintaining the estate's privacy, and protecting its historical content. Prince William would have oversight during his lifetime, after which full responsibility would transfer to Princess Charlotte once she reached adulthood. Legal experts who have studied similar arrangements describe it as an unusually careful and strategic approach, designed to avoid disputes and preserve the Queen's intentions. The document was reportedly notarized and stored in a highly secure archive, accessible only under specific circumstances. This level of preparation reflects the Queen's deep understanding of both law and human nature. By anticipating potential challenges and setting precise boundaries, she ensured that the estate would remain protected regardless of any internal family disagreements or external pressures. In effect, the covenant created a framework that combined legal precision with moral guidance, showing that inheritance within the monarchy is not just a matter of property, but also of responsibility, character, and long-term stewardship. The reactions within the royal family, according to sources, were mixed and sometimes tense. For many members, the idea of a 9-year-old holding custodial responsibility for such a historically important estate was unexpected. Those closest to Queen Camilla were reportedly frustrated, as they had long been thought to have an interest in certain private estates. While there was no public confrontation, whispers of discontent circulated behind closed doors. Some observers noted that the Queen's approach deliberately avoided public conflict while simultaneously making her intentions clear. The estate was to be preserved for future generations, guided by individuals who demonstrated patience, maturity, and a respect for history. In this way, the queen combined authority, foresight, and subtlety, ensuring that her wishes would be followed even if they were initially met with resistance. This quiet decisiveness highlights the often overlooked complexities of royal life, where decisions are rarely simple and the balance between tradition, personal judgment, and family dynamics must be maintained carefully. For Charlotte, it was a responsibility that carried both honor and expectation, showing that even at a young age, she was entrusted with the protection of a legacy that spanned generations. Princess Charlotte's role as the custodian of the estate is not only about managing property, but also about understanding the responsibilities that come with it. Even at 9 years old, she is said to have shown remarkable composure and awareness during public engagements, qualities that likely influenced Queen Elizabeth II's decision. Observers note that Charlotte seems to approach formal events with patience and attentiveness, listening carefully to others and demonstrating a level of maturity that sets her apart from many children her age. This composure, combined with an apparent sense of duty, suggests that she may be capable of handling sensitive responsibilities in the future. The estate itself represents a kind of training ground for Charlotte's role in preserving royal history and upholding the family's traditions. By entrusting her